Hi, friends. This is Sheryl from Tutoring with Sheryl and the Tech Coach for Tutors. Just stopping in to answer three common questions that I see a lot of tutors or educators will ask when they're starting to think about going and tutoring either in person or online. And just to give you the little backstory about me as a tutor, I used to tutor in person and now I only tutor online. And when I started tutoring, I was focused on elementary math and reading, mostly math. And then I made a big switch during the course of the last 3 years where I really became more of an expert on their reading because I could make such tremendous gains in students' ability. And because I had switched to online tutoring, it actually worked out much better for me in the end. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm tutoring students online, making a huge impact in their literacy. And then I'm also helping to support those tutors that need support with their technology as far as like, do I need a website or can I use Google Meet or how can I use Google Classroom to kind of ease the pains of lesson planning? And I don't know how to use docs or slides. Can you teach me how to do that? And all those problem solving things that go along with being a private tutor. But I did want to address the three questions. The first question is, does it cost a lot to start? The answer to that is no, it doesn't cost. It doesn't cost you anything to start. You can literally just say, oh, do you need some homework help? And you can literally show up at a public place and help that student with their homework. If you're an expert or you're just willing to kind of hold their hand as they go through it, you can totally do that. I think what ends up happening is sometimes we pigeonhole ourselves into thinking I can't start because it's going to be too expensive, but it really isn't going to cost you anything to start that day. There are going to be some things that come up that you are going to want to consider. And I think as you're going to have to kind of think about your threshold for what do you want to spend money on. Things that I spent money on to start with was number one, I had a website, and I will talk to you a little bit later on in this video about whether or not you need to have a website, but that was a big commitment for me financially because I started with a WordPress. I had to get some training. I needed to get my domain and all of those fun things. And then I bought a little sign for my car. That didn't cost very much. Pretty much everything was free that I was using at the time because I had purchased so many things and I was working with local students who I was very familiar with their curriculum. So I could just show up to their house and help them with their homework. But really what it ended up coming down to was as we kind of they were progressing, I was creating things and it was kind of becoming expensive because I was making things for them to use and, maybe laminating them for somebody else in the future. And some of those things were just one-off things that only that student needed to have. And so there was kind of a cost there. But I think to start with, no, it doesn't really cost anything. It's really going to depend on how much money you want to spend. If you're driving there, of course, it's going to cost your transportation is going to cost you money. If you've got your own vehicle, if you're taking the bus, a taxi, an Uber, however you're getting there, that's going to cost you some money. Okay, can I tutor online? This is the second question that I get asked. Can I tutor online as a private tutor rather than working for a company? When I began my tutoring journey, I was 2 years outside of retirement from teaching. And I was thinking, oh, yeah, driving there isn't going to cost me anything. I think we're kind of conditioned to think that to be an educator, you have to spend your own money to teach other children. And I don't know how we get there, but somehow we get there. And the cost of the gas wasn't really bothering me so much, but my husband was asking some questions and he's like, are you actually making enough money to say that we can literally afford this gas? And I was like, well, yeah, I think we are. And then it came down to, it was winter time here in Nebraska and January was coming and it's dark and we were forecasted to have a lot of snow. And so I just said to the families, can we just move this online? Let's try this out. And I can't say that it was run perfectly to start with. I think it's all new technology. And especially when you're working with children, they didn't necessarily know how to run this online meeting. Their parents certainly didn't know how to run the online meeting. And so it just came down to some practice. So we had to practice. And, after a few meetings, Well, for some students, I'm still having problems. If I'm going to be really honest, like, oh, they left the meeting early because they hit the wrong button, but they know they're just supposed to come back. But those are the little things that don't really get me too worked up about any of that. So, what I'm going to tell you right now is yes, you can work as a private online tutor, but you're going to have to know, like, for your state, province, your community, your country, what are the regulations for doing that? You're going to have to do some research. And then, your tax base, figure out what are the taxes, what does that look like for you? So because I don't live where you live, I can't tell you what that looks like. So it does come down to you doing your own homework on whether or not you're going to be a successful private tutor, but also, you have to follow the rules. So whatever the rules are for your business, you need to follow those rules, but you absolutely can tutor online as a private tutor. I'm going to ask you some things to consider. Okay. Would you purchase a vehicle and not get insurance? I wouldn't. And I pay for some insurance because I feel like, I wouldn't want to steer anybody wrong. And so, I have just a little, to cover anything that would come up. And, my sister's a realtor. She's got insurance, and my brother-in-law is a pastor, and I know they've got some insurance for their church. So insurance is probably something you might want to look into. However, I know a lot of the people that I used to teach with didn't have any insurance, but I just kind of feel like it's important to have that. Another thing that I'm going to ask you to consider is, how are you going to communicate with your families? Are you going to call them up on your phone? Are you going to send a text message? Are you going to email them? Are you going to have some sort of a service like Remind that's going to send out reminders? So think about how you're going to do that, because you don't want to go to all this work to have this lesson and then they don't show up. So think about that. How are you going to run your online meeting? You can't run it on YouTube. That's not going to work. You could create a course, and run it on YouTube, but you can't do it that way. So what you could do, when I first started, is I was using Google Meet, and I'm still using Google Meet. I love Google Meet. As a matter of fact, I could be streaming this to YouTube right now off of Google Meet. I could totally do that, but I'm live on YouTube right now. So figure out the platform. Are you going to use Zoom, Google Meet, Teams, Skype, Facebook Messenger? I think, remember the age of your student. I'm working with elementary children, so I'm not going to put them on a platform that, number one, is too difficult to understand, and number two, I don't know is really safe for them. Like, I wouldn't meet with them on Messenger unless, all else failed and their parents are like, I only have my phone here. I can't figure out how to download the Google Meet app. I'd be like, okay, would you like to meet on Messenger? I would like you to stay for that meeting, because I don't know if they're going to invite somebody else to come into the meeting. If I'm in Google Meet, I control who's in that meeting. So if they're going to ring the doorbell and I'm going to say admit, because I know what their little, what do you want to say, their little image looks like and their name is. And if it's not them, they're not getting in. So, that's how I protect my students. When you're thinking about what you're teaching, how are you going to display the information if you're online? If you're in person, that's easy. You're just probably going to take your paper, your books, or whatever. That's the easy part. It's when you become a digital tutor, a virtual tutor, you have to kind of think about that. So some things that I use, and this might be important to you, is on Google Meet, I have some downloads, I don't know if I would call them more like, I can't remember the name of them. But anyway, I've got like Miro, I've got Lucid Spark, and then I've got Figma for educators. And I love Figma, and that's kind of my whiteboard. So if I need a whiteboard, that's the whiteboard that I go to. But I also love the Cami app. The Cami app is amazing. So I personally have some subscriptions that I use with my students, because I would love to say that my brain can house every little bit of information that I've ever learned or can teach a child. But to be quite honest, after several hours of working with students, sometimes you're just like, I cannot think anymore. So having those subscriptions has really saved me a lot of time and effort. So I can just simply go into, let's say, education.com, download a PDF, and then upload it into the Cami app. And then I can share that Cami app with my students, and both of us can be writing on the board at the same time. And so I think you really want to think about what tools are you going to use. And then also think about, how are you going to bill? Are you going to just send them a Venmo like a request for money or say, hey, pay me by Venmo and expect them to literally do that? Sometimes that'll work. Sometimes it doesn't. Do you want to bill after the lesson or before the lesson? Determine your ability to track down money. I got tired of tracking down money. So I have some of the nicest parents in the world, but I literally had to go to prepayment because, it's just kind of hard to remember. So if they know their schedule in advance, they know what they're paying for, and they're expecting it because they paid for it, they're not missing the lessons. So I think that's really important as well. I kind of skipped over, I went from payments, I went from whiteboard to payments, but I actually also wanted to maybe back up a step, and my apologies for not looking at my notes a little bit closer. But I wanted you to think about Google Docs and Google Slides. And the reason I'm saying Google is because those are shared documents. So you can literally share them. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're like, I want to learn more, I can totally help you with that because I have a group that I train tutors how to do all this. Okay. So I have a couple of different programs. One of my programs is the Google Classroom boot camp, where I kind of go over like how can you use Google Classroom to house all of the tools that you need, build like this educational hub, an ed hub, which is just a glamorous name for a Google Classroom for your student, have all the tools and everything there that you need at a moment's notice. You can click into those, your student can click into those, and then boom, you're there. And you have the lesson set up and ready to go. That way, for instance, I'm going to travel, and then I can just simply get onto my phone, and it's a little fingerprinted up. So let me wipe off some of those fingerprints. But I can get into my phone, and I can find my Google Classroom, which of course, now that I'm on here, I can't find it. So it's the classroom right there, and I can click into it, and boom. Let's see if we'll go. I have my classrooms right there. And so then I can just click into my classroom. Let's see if I can get one to load quickly. And I can go into classwork, and I can see all the things that I have set up for this student at a moment's notice. So if I'm working on a Google Meet on my phone, I can just simply boom, click into it, and I'm there. And so I feel like being prepared that way, that is added value for the family and the students, and the parents love it because they can come back into the Google Classroom if they need any extra help. So really be thinking about what are those platforms and the things that you are, how are you going to actually do all of this? Okay. Because everybody's going to do it differently. I know some tutors who meet both in person, and then they also do some online lessons. So their in-person lessons look so much different than their online lessons, but they're still making progress with all of those students. So really think about that. The third question that I had is, do I need a website? Now, that was one thing that I started with. I thought, oh, I need a website. I was told I need a website. So I spent a lot of time training, learning it. My daughter even had to help me. Like, I'm like, hey, I need some help. And she's a marketing expert. And so she was very patient with me. And then there was some coding involved. And I thought, this is just like such a learning curve for me. I totally did it. As a matter of fact, my website's going out here, I think this week. I'm not using that one anymore. Now I do have a website, but it's with a package that I purchased that I use for all of my billing, my scheduling. It's tutorbird.com. And so you can use it for a month for free. I will come back and put that in the comments because I don't want to take the time to pull that up right now. But you can use it for a month for free and check it out and see if you even want to use it. But I have my website there now. And so I'm not paying the extra fee because it's already there. It allows me to communicate with my parents. I have a calendar there. I can put resources for my parents, for my students to go and click on and download. All of that is there. They can go in, they can schedule lessons with me. Like if they need to cancel because their student was ill, when they cancel, I get a little message on my phone that says, hey, so-and-so is not going to be there. Then I just go to another day and I open up a new lesson and give them a couple choices, and then they can log in and they can say, yep, I want that one at that time. And because they've prepaid, they know that I'm good for it because they already paid me for it. So it's going to be there. So those are some things that I really want you to think about. Now, if this has got your mind going and you're just like, oh my gosh, okay, so she said no website, but she didn't really give your answer. I need to go back. A couple of other things that you can do is you can create a flyer. Okay, so just put your picture out there. Say, this is what I tutor. This is what I teach. This is where you can find me. This is how to get a hold of me. But you're going to need to give away some information, either your email or a phone number. Okay, you have to have a way for them to contact you. So do not forget that. Include a picture of yourself. So many people do not like looking at themselves. It's uncomfortable. I'm sitting here looking at myself or on the screen, whatever. But you have to be okay with that because they're looking at you. So if you're a school teacher, you already know it's fine. You're used to it. People look at you all the time. If you're getting up at your community events and talking, people are looking at you. So there's really no difference because you're going to have an audience here on YouTube, and the audience is going to be the people that want the information. So it's okay. You can take a selfie on your phone if you need to, or ask a friend to take your picture. So it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. It'll be just fine. I recently made some business cards. Okay. So I've got business cards that I hand out. I hang them up when I go to different places. It's got my little flow code on here. It's got a little picture of me. It's got my contact information and my phone number. So if they want help, they're going to get a hold of me. I also have my location. But here's the thing, because I am a online reading tutor, I can teach from anywhere. I've literally worked with students from around the world, but even tutors from around the world. Okay. India, that schedule's a little bit different. We have to find a common time that will work for both of us. One of us is up really early and one of us is really late, but those things are possible. So if you find the right people to work with, you're going to be okay. A little word of advice: you do not need to work with everybody that asks for help. I've literally turned some tutors away that have asked for help from me because once I meet with them, I find out that I'm not the best coach for them. They maybe need more help on just like they want me to do their marketing for them. I'm not going to do your marketing for you. I will teach you how to do your own marketing, but I'm marketing for myself. Or I've had tutors reach out to me and they want to learn how to tutor, but they were never really into education and they really can't wrap their mind around how to even present a lesson. Well, I can show them, but I can't do the work for them. So you just have to find the right people and they will find you. You just have to share your message, and you need to be brave. You need to be brave enough to put your picture out there or a business card or a flyer or something, because okay, so here's the thing. When you're in the classroom, they bring students to you, right? Easy breezy, you get them all. But when you're a private tutor and you're not working for a company, so if you want to work for a company, you can totally work for a company. They will send you those kids. They will totally do that. But if you really want to reap the benefits of being a private tutor, whether you're online or in person, you have to do the legwork to find the right people for you. So that, I think, is really important. Now, I did talk to you a little bit about the fact that I am a coach for tutors. And I coach those tutors. And I was trying to think, I don't know if I can't leave anything in the chat. I don't think I can. Nope, I don't think I can do that right now. I'm just looking. Nope, doesn't look like it. Okay, so that's okay. At the end of my online, I will add to the chat, and I will put in the link for the Tech Hub for Tutors so that you can go and see what benefits there are to joining my membership group. Now, here's the membership is all about. It's about supporting tutors who need assistance in figuring out either Google Classroom, how to do virtual lessons, how to use digital tools to teach online. But it's not just that, it's also problem solving. So how do you might get a problem with your website or a problem with marketing of some sort, and you're like, I don't know the next step to take. Well, I'm just sharing my experiences with you. And you get that by doing one of two things. You can either join the Tech Hub for Tutors, or I also have a standalone course is what I would call it, but you also get coaching for an hour that goes along with that. And I called it the techniques for setting up your own private tutoring business, because it's a lot to think. Okay, I'm leaving the classroom, or I've never taught anything before. Now, what does that look like? So I take you on my journey and I show you the steps that I did. And then at the very end, I have an update of like, here's what I'm currently doing, so you can see what I'm currently doing. So there's going to be a few things that I leave in the chat. I will leave the membership to the Tech Hub for Tutors if you want to go check that out, see currently what does it look like, what do you get, and what does it cost. And then I'm also going to go back into my TutorBird account and share my link with you. And then you can check out TutorBird for a whole month and see if that's something that might help help you be a more successful tutor as far as like scheduling, communicating, building out a website. I think it's like $15 a month. And honestly, if you think about your price point on what your tutor, what that is, that I hope you're charging more than $15 for an hour of tutoring. So a portion of that hour is going to go per month to that website. And that's where parents are going to find you, and they're going to come back for those frequently asked questions. So I'm going to ask you to go and check that out. I will also include the website to my Tutoring with Sheryl account, so you can check that out. But I am all done for today. I want to thank you for stopping in. Make sure that you leave a comment. I want to know where you watched from. What are you tutoring? Like and subscribe to my channel so that you can come back here frequently. You can also find me on Tutoring with Sheryl on YouTube as well. This channel, I really wanted to make more for the tutors. The Tutoring with Sheryl is a combination of the parents and the tutors, but this is really just for the tutors, just to kind of think about, what does education look like outside of the classroom, and how can I grow my own business? You guys make it a great day and keep the learning going.